What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Fightful Wrestling Podcast, December 31st edition, January 31st edition, rather. I was just about to say I'm going to be calling the month January nonstop for about 2 weeks, but apparently I'm not over December yet because I've done that like 3 or 4 times. First Smackdown after the Royal Rumble. If you were in San Antonio during Royal Rumble week, you saw a shit ton of people with those Fightful.com shirts on. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/Sean Ross Sapp. Get yourself a Fightful shirt. That sale, that $15.99 price is going up soon. So you might as well get it now, people. I'm joined by Jeff Hawkins, who appeared on our post-NXT TakeOver show, our post-Royal Rumble show. You can go back and check those out. Subscribe to us, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube. You can download us directly. Jeff, 3 shows in 4 nights. How are you feeling?
I'm fine. Look, Alex did it and had a child at the same time.
Yeah, not a big deal.
So I'm always going to be Mr. Congeniality here compared to him. So,
well, he didn't get any sleep because he had a child. Now he has to worry about Seth Rollins showing up and beating up his child. So the poor guy's never going to sleep again.
Well, Rollins may blow out the ACL fighting the kid, so you never know.
We got Smackdown to talk about. Now, it may just be a situation where these shows are shorter than our Raw shows because, hey, the Smackdown show is shorter than the Raw show. So we're not going to force something that's not there. But I think tonight had some nice development and some also pretty terrible development. We got a pay-per-view in less than 2 weeks. I don't know why they did that. That's weird. Why not 3?
I'm of the opinion that they should have no pay-per-views between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Me too.
I like, you know what? I have all this time. I can build something. This Elimination Chamber, and this is what the show, at least the parts that suffered to me, it felt like it was trying to cram 10 pounds of sausage in a 5-pound bag.
Damn.
I mean, it was trying to jam stuff in to build angles so that you'll go watch this pay-per-view in 2 weeks. And I don't know if those parts worked. There were some parts that worked very, very well, I thought, but those parts that are actually setting up for the actual Elimination Chamber, it feels forced because it is forced.
We're going to talk about Smackdown. We're going to get to a couple of headlines from Fightful.com. Be sure to check out Fightful.com. You can check out FightfulWrestling.com, FightfulMMA.com for individualized coverage. But Fightful.com is where you want to go for crossover coverage. We've got live discussion of shows, columns, interviews, reviews, podcasts, more than any other website. One of those is that Raw saw a 10% viewership increase, the biggest numbers that Raw has done since the Raw after WrestleMania. Did you expect that?
Yes, because the road to WrestleMania Raw is always a big one. And they did a lot. They did
sustain the numbers too. Sorry to interrupt, but they sustained the numbers through 3 hours.
Yeah, well, they built a lot of stories. That show was great, I thought, last night as well. A lot of things that they've been doing wrong, they fixed. Like especially I thought Bayley's characterization throughout the night was spot on, to be honest with you. But you know what? They did a lot in that Rumble to make Raw a strong brand compared to SmackDown, even though the winner came from SmackDown. They have a lot of big matches they have still to announce, and I think a lot of people tuned in to see if The Undertaker would show up as well, or Lesnar, or Goldberg, and they got Lesnar at least, and they got the payoff to the Triple H Rollins feud pretty well. So yeah, no, I wasn't surprised at all that people's interest peaked.
I figured they would keep Undertaker or Goldberg around just for the extra night. Why not? But they didn't.
Yeah.
Also, Rich Swann injured his foot Monday on Raw. We don't know how serious it is. That story is up on Fightful.com. He was pulled from tonight's 205 Live. Also, Chris Jericho. You don't hear this a lot. Chris Jericho injured Sunday. Apparently wasn't too bad. Or if it was, he's even tougher than I thought because he just worked a 15-minute match with Sami Zayn on Raw, which saw him do a Frankensteiner from the top rope. So if he's dealing with an injured ankle, hats off to that dude.
He's really Well, what he's done, it's amazing to me because this time last year, I was criticizing Chris Jericho something fierce because while I liked his angle with AJ Styles and things like that, to me it appeared Chris Jericho was doing a Chris Jericho tribute act, and all his stuff as a babyface was kind of in slow motion. It felt slow. It felt kind of pedantic. And now, he's decided his midlife crisis to start pulling out huge aerial moves out of the blue for some reason. I love it. Give me, you know what he's turning into? He's turning into Terry Funk.
Oh gosh, he cuts a way better promo than Funk ever could.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I just want him to put a ladder on his head and spin around. That's all I want right now.
Hey, it's SmackDown. SmackDown gets Money in the Bank this year. So you never know. He could make a little comeback on that brand after a Fozzy tour.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he's going to be leaving, possibly.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing that says he has to be on Raw when he comes back.
Right. No, and I just mean, in terms of Funk, he reinvented himself over and over as he got older. I think Jericho is probably savvy enough to do the same thing, especially since he's done it with his gimmick. He might be able to do it with his style as well. So, I mean, I have no problem with that.
The January 31st SmackDown edition kicks off with AJ Styles in the back talking to Shane and Daniel Bryan, saying that he wants his rematch. Now, or saying that he wants a one-on-one rematch. I hate automatic rematch clauses. Mm-hmm. In the event of where you have an all-time classic match like AJ Styles did, maybe some leeway there. But he has put in the Elimination Chamber match, as is Bray Wyatt, Baron Corbin, The Miz, Dean Ambrose, John Cena. A lot of big names there. I'll ask you this right off the top. Wyatt, foregone conclusion winning that? No,
I don't think it's a foregone conclusion he wins it. I think it's very possible he wins it. I think it's almost probable he wins it. But also, you got to remember, they also established during that segment AJ Styles being smart enough to know, I don't want my automatic rematch in the Elimination Chamber. So they have that as a possibility to pull. They can always have someone win at random in the Elimination Chamber, and AJ Styles wins on the SmackDown after.
That's absolutely true. I actually thought about that. So what would happen? Ambrose, Styles, you know what? Hey,
Miz. They kind of set a few seats for Miz today.
Or not Ambrose, Styles. That happened tonight. Orton, Styles. Hey, that would probably be a really good match. I'm sure that AJ would get a good match out of him, but it's like hey, you know what? I'm along for the ride. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
John Cena comes out to repair some of the verbal burial that he unleashed on AJ Styles last week. And I use that term very conservatively. But last week it was a verbal burial. I didn't like it. I don't think it helped anything. I think that if somebody who hadn't watched WWE in 1 year tuned in and watched that, they'd go, who's this dumb little redneck trying to face John Cena? And they'd go, oh, well, I guess it's just some guy.
I agree completely. I thought it was an absolutely horrible segment for AJ Styles' character, for his position, and I don't think this mea culpa helped necessarily either. For some reason, look, I'm sure he meant the words he was speaking out there, but there's just something. It didn't feel right to me. It felt almost like it's reinforcing the fact that I buried this guy last week and I probably shouldn't have. In my eyes. I don't, that's the kind of, it's weird. If that was a heel saying that in some ways, it'd almost be seen as insincere congratulations, and he'd get a participation trophy of some sort. But with John Cena, Super Cena doing it and being the face of the company, well, I'm glad he's giving the young kid the rub. Kind of thing. It's kind of like, oh, now you do it. You can't do it before the big match to build it. You have to do it afterwards. It's kind of like, oh, I know a good corollary. It's the wolf tickets theory, where it's like, oh, we were just talking smack, but we really, really do respect each other afterwards, and we hug, kind of thing.
I think it would make more sense for him to have put Styles over before and then been a total dick after.
I'm fine with that.
At least then you have a reason for AJ Styles to be super pissy, maybe to the point of ruining his and Cena's chances at Elimination Chamber because he feels so disrespected. But I guess we'll find out how
you know
that
what
goes.
it was? It was too much. It was too much of a compliment. If it had been a simple, sincere AJ Styles is great, fine, and then move on, I would have been fine with that. But it's, guys, no, really, AJ Styles is a hell of a competitor. He really, really is a great performer. He's one of the best in the, it's that going a little bit too far in complimenting to the point where you're almost insincere about it.
I just realized why they couldn't give Apollo Crews that John Jones fake nice gimmick. It's because that's what John Cena already does. Luke Harper, Orton and Wyatt come out, and Wyatt actually, in this very short period, I thought cut one of his better promos in recent memory. It wasn't babbling. It was just him saying the more things change, the more they stay the same. I've got a chance at Elimination Chamber. Orton's got a title match. They're putting over that they're still cohesive. Luke Harper comes out and makes a save, and a tag team match is set up. I'm sort of interested in seeing these storylines all woven together leading into Elimination Chamber because it leaves a lot of possibilities out there. Because with the Elimination Chamber coming up, any number of people could piss off one of the other and kick off a storyline that leads into WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about Bray Wyatt's promo. I think it was shortened to the point, which helped quite a bit, and it was menacing at the same time. I really liked it a lot, and it got to where it needed to go, and it stopped, which is brevity being the soul of wit. That's not WWE's strong suit. But speaking of which, this Luke Harper Cena interplay, it's as close to how would you say subtext and depth that you're going to get in a WWE storyline with Luke Harper being morally conflicted about going after Bray Wyatt. It's not as bad as not Apollo Crews, Creed, Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods being hypnotized by Bray Wyatt, but it's still kind of I'm not sure if I should be fighting my friend here or not. Oh yeah, he turned on me. I'm going to attack him now. No, wait. Okay, I can't do it. And I liked the fact that he didn't hit Bray's finisher on him. I liked they protected that a bit. And I also liked, look, it defied my expectations because I was certain Harper was going to deck Cena at some point. And I liked that they didn't because that would have been a total and complete cop-out.
Completely agree.
Yeah, but they're still doing the story of there's a part of Luke Harper that still wants to impress Bray Wyatt, and he absolutely loathes Randy Orton. I'm fine with this story as is.
Yeah, this match was a lot more story than in-ring action, but that wasn't a bad thing at all. It was just fine. Luke Harper wouldn't hit Bray, which is what you mentioned. Didn't land the finisher. Orton went over big time here, pinned John Cena clean as a sheet. Before this month, Randy Orton's last television win as a singles competitor came on November 1 against Kane.
Wow.
And he's only had the Royal Rumble and a win over Dean Ambrose. But the last 3 days have really upped the stock in Randy Orton. I mean, you pin John Cena, you win a Royal Rumble. In any capacity, it's going to help you out.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you think that the alliance with Bray Wyatt is hurting his ascent in any ways in terms of these wins actually meaning something?
No, to me it makes me more interested because I've seen every angle in which Randy Orton can be by himself and do this, and maybe he goes by himself shortly, but I mean I've seen it as a babyface, I've seen it as a heel, I've seen it as him leading a stable, I've seen it as him facing a stable, I've seen it as him in a stable and then getting thrown out of it. I've seen him as the young up-and-comer. I've seen him as the veteran. I've seen him do it from every possible angle. I mean, he's a victim of his own success. And you know what? A lot of those weren't interesting at all anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, I have a problem being interested in Randy Orton. I would have liked to have seen him. I mean, I like the fact that he's kind of bought into the Wyatt family motif in its own way. I wish he would have gone just a little bit further, maybe changed up his look a little so that I could buy into the turn a little bit more. But overall, I'm enjoying this Randy Orton probably more than any since Legacy.
Speaking of Randy Orton, I thought it was funny the line last night that Triple H said about Seth Rollins. You don't got to come to my house. Like who would do that in an angle? Who would show up at somebody's house and tear shit up?
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Who would
Stone
do
Cold
that?
Steve Austin would show up, take that giant pencil and a gun, stick it straight up Brian Pillman's ass.
Hey, Triple H would do it too. To Randy Orton.
Right. Oh, that's right.
That's what I was getting at. That's what I was getting at.
I forgot about that reference.
Good
Sometimes
job.
Look, there's a lot of wrestling, and some of
There
these
is
references.
So when I was 10 years old and they did WWF in your house, I thought one of the matches was going to be in somebody's house, and I was super bummed that it never was.
You know what? I can remember random things from 1988 World Championship Wrestling. I can't remember half the stuff from the Attitude Era, so sometimes you need to remind me.
Ellsworth came out in some of his new clothes, and he looked.
This man is a god. This man is an absolute god.
He looked like hilariously normal in those clothes.
Oh, he looked like such a douche bro in
Yeah,
these clothes, and it was so great.
He looked like he should have been wearing that stuff.
His delivery is so bad, it's gone through the looking glass to being good for me. I just when he said "my boo,"
yes,
I popped. I just it's so cultural appropriation. It was just so bad, and I loved it. And I thought Ellsworth's the interference in the match was pitch perfect. I thought everything about this was great.
I hope that eventually this is revealed that Carmela's intentions are nothing but pure.
What, really?
Yes, I hope it's revealed that she just really likes the guy.
She just wants to be friends, or is she not interested?
Or that Ellsworths aren't pure. And like she's legit heartbroken.
Oh, we gotta find like he's in love with Asuka or something, and then Asuka comes and just kills
and kills him, kills everybody. She doesn't love anybody.
Sure. Yeah, no, I like that a lot better. Yeah, Ellsworth is his master manipulator.
Yes,
but it would be great. The only way it could work for me, I think, if it's genuine that Carmela really likes him, is if JBL absolutely has an aneurysm like he did tonight, because that thing was fantastic to the point where
we're talking prime level JBL commentary here.
Yes,
this was a callback to his best days. This was
Otunga,
fantastic.
Otunga pulling the Blue Meanie reference in the middle of him going ape and absolutely shutting him up to the point where he's cracking himself off.
JBL said something like, "Why is Jennifer even with you?" One of those.
Yeah. Hey, lots of people underwhelm or something like that, underperform or marry under or something like that. I thought that line was great too.
I hope that
Morrow said the Blue Meanie line. That's who said it, not Otunga.
Also, they skipped to the ring together.
Yes.
Fantastic. I really hope that Ellsworth is revealed as a super genius eventually. Like, he manipulated the WWE, everybody, even Braun Strowman, into getting him a job because he knew it was his only chance.
A games master of sorts. You know what?
Yes.
And you know what I think he should end up being? He should end up being the general manager of SmackDown in some way.
Sure.
He because Daniel Bryan brought him in, and he was a big Daniel Bryan fan, and then ultimately he usurps him in some way. I think that'd be awesome.
Hey, they can play the ride. Did you watch their episode of Ride Along?
Yes.
I wish they would play that in. He's like, I even sat with you in a car. Like, he plays a germaphobe heel GM on TV. And like, he's just disgusted. He's above everybody. We find out that he's actually pretty well-to-do in life.
Well, we have plenty of time here, so let me throw a fantasy booking thing out for you. What if he has a split personality and this Jimmy Romance or whatever the heck that other character is?
That was shit.
Yes. Come on. We have James Ellsworth, and then we have whatever, Jimmy Swab or whatever the hell he calls himself. And that's the guy who's actually the boyfriend. You know, it's like Steve Urkel and whatever the hell he did on Family Matters.
Well, Dude Love got a WWF title match on pay-per-view, so anything is possible in this company. Because I thought that was the absolute worst gimmick.
And I like that they've continued the continuity that Dean Ambrose does not like him in both the Rumble and on this SmackDown tonight.
What was that? Sorry.
They didn't they said at the beginning that the whole thing? Or
What'd you just say?
Oh, I said I like that they've continued the story of Dean Ambrose still doesn't like Ellsworth, both on the Rumble and on the beginning of SmackDown, and I like that continuity.
Little things, they matter. They matter. Dolph Ziggler defeated Kalisto. I am over Kalisto. I don't care about him on SmackDown. I wouldn't care about him on 205 Live or Raw probably. I don't know how anybody expects this gimmick to be over. Like, I don't even know if a heel turn could help him because I don't think he could play a heel. And the thing is, he's too nice to be a babyface. Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know how it helps Ziggler either.
You know what I would do? You know what I would really do if the WWE had just some cojones? Take advantage of the Donald Trump. Take advantage of the Donald Trump wall thing. Do it. Do it. Take advantage of it. Andrade Almas. Any Hispanic stars you have, and do your best to create a Canada-US 97 situation. Whatever you can do.
I'd just assume do Los Ingobernables than do anything having to do with We the People.
Sure. It's something to get these people interested. Something. And if they had Del Rio, they would have a much better chance of making that work. But because I think a Del Rio and an Andrade Almas could make that work.
Yeah.
But I missed that dynamic from that Canada USA thing. That was so unique how that was able to be created. And how WWE was like, well, we're going to start running in Canada like all the time now since this is so hot. I mean, it changed the way they did things.
The only problem with that is that this company really does not understand foreign superstars or foreign cultures in any way. They assume that they're going to acclimate to WWE style and flock in droves because they like that style as opposed to doing any sort of lucha sort of promos or anything to that effect. And they have a problem with that kind of subtext when it comes to foreigners. The Canadian thing worked because the company accidentally created that program by the whole the whole treatment of Brett. So it was a lucky situation that they fell into more than anything they created.
Ziggler beats Kalisto again with a super kick. Apollo Crews makes a save, which is super awesome that we have even more characters void of personality for Dolph Ziggler to try to get his personality over with.
It feels like these three have been going in a perpetual circle. I don't understand.
Have any personality.
Yeah.
They don't have anything. Like, there was forever ago I pitched, because John Cena had run through everybody. A few years ago, I pitched this idea of having like a doghouse stable when The Miz was in the crapper and Ziggler was in the crapper and Ryder was in the crapper. Just this collection of people whose careers never recovered after they worked with John Cena. And like this league of doghouse villains would just go after him. And really, I mean, after you have him beat like tag team champions on Raw, what more can you do? Well, you have 3 or 4 guys take him on. I don't know what could save people like this. They're trying a little bit with Ziggler. They're freshening him up. But poor Kalisto and Apollo Crews, who are talented guys, just spinning their wheels. There's nothing for them.
You know what would help Ziggler, I think, a whole lot, and it's something that they can't do anymore in this day and age, and that would be a studio wrestling show. Because Dolph Ziggler's problem is his promos were all yelly at a time, and then they just, with this heel turn, they just made him kind of monotone, as opposed to him being able to be quiet and change his levels back and forth for the whole arena. I think that kind of promo, I mean, I'm not going to compare him to Ric Flair in any ways, but, the Ric Flair World Championship Wrestling promo circa 86, where he'd be, stylish and he'd be calm and, I'm very happy to be here, Tony. And then he works himself into a bit of a lather and eventually he's screaming like a maniac. That would help Dolph Ziggler. Instead, all we get is Dolph just screaming all the time. And you're just kind of like, get a little Ritalin here or there or some Xanax or something and calm down a bit, kid.
I have a lot of people asking about Ty Dillinger, so I asked about that this morning.
One off.
Yeah, one off, but I was told don't be surprised if they change their mind in quick fashion. Because apparently the reaction to his reaction backstage was one of surprise in Gorilla, is what I was told. Like, they didn't think it would be that big. So, hey, hats off to him.
Hats off to him, but that's a smart audience. That's not good.
That's 52,000, man.
If you were...
52,000. That's 52,000 people,
Yes.
though, man.
Yes, but they're all hardcore network watchers
I
for the
don't
most
know. I don't know if all 52,000 were, man. There were a lot of locals there. I mean, a lot of locals there.
Even if they didn't, it's going to be a situation like Enzo and Cass where that first week they got a pop, and then that kind of trained people afterwards that they were supposed to act like this. And there were a couple weeks where it was a little bit down in the audience because they still weren't sure who these guys were. I think if they were going to put Ty Dillinger on the main roster, the time to do it would have been on Monday at some time.
Yeah, and I would have probably put him on Raw because they need anybody who can get a consistent reaction on that show. If he sticks around in NXT, I wouldn't be opposed to him getting a run towards the top because why not? Why not?
With a different champ. I don't want to run with him and Bobby Roode again because that program.
That doesn't work. But
yeah,
he's a solid star on NXT, and hey, they need him. Naomi, I gotta say, Naomi, tonight was a leap for her in my eyes. I didn't get to see her match Sunday, so I'll go back and watch it because they started the matches 45 minutes before the advertised time on the ticket. She's still bad on the mic, but she's not as bad as she used to be. But they got to stop giving these girls shitty catchphrases. Also, speaking of shitty, they booked Natalya and Nikki Bella after a crappy backstage segment. Now, what I want to rave about, Jeff, Naomi's hot tag offense. That was good. She hit. And I'll go on the record with this. A good front drop kick.
I thought she was really good on Sunday's pre-show as well. I think she's been very, very good in the ring, and the chemistry with like the Alexas and the Natties and the heels on that side. I think Mickie James is going to be an absolute help for her in any matches that they're in together. I completely agree with you on the promos. Whoever wrote this promo for Naomi tonight is the person, I'm positive, wrote all of Sasha Banks's Team Bad promos because it was a lot of the same catchphrases like snatches. Just, it's like, okay, just let her talk. Stop. It comes off as a guy who doesn't know how Naomi speaks trying to write something that sounds urban, for lack of a better term. That's as diplomatic as I can be with it.
I would like to see WWE enforce a ban on bell-bottom wrestling gear.
I would too.
I think it's unsafe. I think it's distracting. I think it looks terrible. I don't even like it. I've never liked it to the extent of Roxy Laveau or Nikki Cross either. But
yeah, Mickie needs new gear.
It is egregious.
She needs new gear badly.
Mm-hmm. Naomi had some incredible offense. She didn't finish somebody by slamming her ass into their face. She did a beautiful split-legged moonsault. Like, one of the best I've seen. Like, phenomenal. Hey, if that's the Naomi we get now, some of her basics are still a little off, but hey, this is promising to me.
Progress is progress, and you got to give it up when people improve. You can't just say, well, they're not great yet. I mean, if they're very good, you got to give it up for them, and she's obviously improved in the ring.
Speaking of progress, guys, every Thursday we have the Progress Atlas champion, Matt Riddle, on Fightful.com for the Fightful broadcast. Register for early access to that show. This weekend we're going to be this week we're going to be talking about Evolve. I met Matt this weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ring breaking at Friday's Evolve show. Him being on screen at NXT, that was kind of funny. Also, some of the things Dave Meltzer said about him, including that New Japan, if they make a play for Matt Riddle, that will force WWE's hand. He also said that Matt Riddle is progressing much better on the indies than in NXT, although that seemed to be a popular talking point this week. I don't know if you had listened to anything like that. And I don't really like to talk about other shows, but that was really hammered home. Like, nobody's progressing in the Performance Center, which is not true. But we'll talk about that. Also, Friday, the Shane Helms show. Hold on. We are talking about the original WWE brand split. We'll talk about how Shane found out about it, what his feelings were, the WWE draft, how much stars knew going into the draft, how he felt not being picked on TV, the drafts that happened after that, if there was any sense of rivalry among those brands, also how he felt when he did get drafted and when he got switched from Raw to SmackDown. Go register Fightful.com for early access to that. Our last show talking about the death of WCW is our most downloaded audio show that we have done on Fightful.com. That one has been received very well. We talk about the end of WCW and him transitioning into the WWF. You could also suggest topics that you want us to talk about that he's in. I'm not talking like one-off questions. I'm talking like solid topics. Like we've talked the Royal Rumble experiences he's been involved with, backstage fights, some of which he's been involved with. So head on over to our forums, register, drop some topics in there. We'd love to hear about it. Jeff, you wanted to talk or say something like you're supposed to be a part of this show? What?
Yeah, no, I think his point is kind of missed because he's comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah,
the one on training, because in the Japanese training is mostly training to be a grappler, training to be a wrestler, training to be, tough and to do moves and things like that. The Performance Center is teaching you how to be how to wrestle for television.
Sure.
And how to do moments, how to look at the camera, how to get to your signature spot, how to get to your finisher, where to look for the pin, things of that nature. They're a finishing school, as he likes to say, but he often forgets that.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. I posted a nice little clip of Matt Riddle superplexing Dustin through a series of chairs from Evolve. That was such a cool spot, such a cool match. American Alpha were backstage, and they cut what I thought was their best promo yet. You don't look like you liked it. I thought it was their, well, they haven't had any good promos before this, but I thought this was their best one. What didn't you like about it?
It still comes off a bit dickish to me. No, I don't know.
Hey, I'm cool with that.
You are? Even though they're baby faces, they're white meat baby faces, you're cool with them being dicks? Okay. No, that's fine. You can have that opinion. My opinion may not be right. I'm never certain. I watch it and I go, God, I want them to be more, kids and moms. That's the kind of boy you want to take home to mom, not the gym school bully or the gym class bully, so to speak. But I mean, to each their own. I mean, there are people who like those types of anti-hero baby faces. I thought this came off as a little bit dickish, but I like the open challenge as a theory. In execution, this was the island of misfit toys. After the Usos, it was like Usos, and then,
buddy, let me tell you, if these misfit toys showed up on an island, the island would turn them away. This was, everybody expected the revival. Hey, the revival would have been fantastic. That would have been great. The Headbangers might have been better than what came out.
In fact, Spirit Squad?
The Spirit Squad probably would have been better. No, we got the Usos, we got the Ascension, we got Heath Slater and Rhino, we got the Vaudevillains and the Fashion Police. Yeah, the Fashion Police. They brawl through a commercial, and this is a setup an Elimination Chamber tag title match. Let me ask you.
Not as bad as the primetime players, but still.
Who do American Alpha face for the titles at WrestleMania? Or do they? Are they left off the show and put in the Battle Royal?
They're on the that's a good one. They may be in that Battle Royal. I was thinking pre-show multi-tag match.
Fuck.
Because that's their move.
That would mean that more than one of these teams we just mentioned would be in that match.
Probably the Usos, American Alpha, maybe the Revival, and then maybe Breezango because they can work.
If they're smart, They bring the Revival in before WrestleMania. Hey, you know what, guys? If you want to establish the Revival and you want maybe some lapsed fans to tune in and say, damn, that team works like some teams that I liked 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, I'm cool with. I would love the Revival in American Alpha at WrestleMania. I would love it.
My fear is they'll go, well, let's bring up a team from NXT to give them a chance, and they'll look at the Revival and they'll look at the Authors of Pain, and they'll go,
hey, you know what? I bet they would have an awesome match with Authors of Pain at this time. After what I saw at Gargano and Ciampa and Authors of Pain, I think they could have a good match because think about this. Authors of Pain are like 22 and 23.
Yeah.
And they were, Selmani, I can't remember which one he plays, but he made it to Bellator as a pro fighter, and Densa was a good amateur wrestler, like an Olympic hopeful. So,
look, they're great potential. I'm not denying they didn't have a great match at NXT with Ciampa and Gargano. The problem is once you get up to the main roster, you don't learn anymore. For the most part, you're going through the motions on house shows, and you're going through the motions on TV.
Yeah, but the last time I asked, there were no plans for the Revival to come up.
Yeah, I know, because they may never come up because they're small.
The Asuka situation, like there are no plans for Asuka to come up right now. There never were.
No,
everybody's like, when is Asuka coming up? There are no plans for Asuka to ever come up. Maybe she will. Hey, you know what? They could always do like they did with the Tommy in the Battle Royal, have her do like one-offs and stuff. Sure. But there are no plans as of right now for her to come up, and there never have been. And when they signed her, there never was.
Because she can't talk. So there's no use for her. Yeah.
And she's making everybody, all the other women in NXT better. And that's ultimately what they want her for.
Mm-hmm.
We got AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose. Miz is on commentary, and shocker, he's real good.
Miz should have a job for life on commentary. After he retires, if he does not have a job for life, which is ironic because everybody thought Alex Riley might have a job for life on commentary too for NXT
until he first started.
Until he got bitter. But I think Miz is going to have a job for life with the WWE in some fashion or form.
He is what Otunga and Byron Saxton should be. And he's really good as a current competitor because he talks about how good he is and how much he hates his opponent and still does it in a way that puts them over. He compliments them.
Yes, he does a great. Look, I'll tell you this. He does great improv for a scene. He actually listens to what the people are saying to him rather than holding on to a line or two. He uses what they say and then adds to it. It's very simple what he does, and it's very good because he also has a very quick wit about him. I thought his interplay with Corbin was fantastic.
Yeah. Speaking of improv, I've been enjoying the hell out of Roast Battle. Do you watch that show?
I've only seen one episode, and I have friends who go, why didn't you try out for that? I'm like, look, I haven't done stand-up in so long.
It looks like a blast. I wish you would do it. I wish you would get on Comedy Central and do it. Go ahead. It's got to be easy.
I'm actually very good at roasts. So
it would be awesome. Hey,
yeah.
Get on there. Maybe you can wear a Fightful shirt. We'll give you some money. Hey,
oh, sure.
Hey, Baron Corbin shows up before a commercial. He's on commentary as well. Also good. I liked him. What do you know?
He wasn't bad, but he is. I'll put it that way.
You don't know shit.
No, it's not bad. It's just, they make him go back and go, I played in the NFL. Okay, well.
Hey, I think he should be that egomaniac.
That part's fine. That part's fine, but they obviously were feeding him lines as opposed to letting him talk. That's what it felt like to me.
You know what would be funny if it's revealed that the only guy on the roster he doesn't have disdain for is Mojo Rawley because he came up the same way that he did.
Well, it's funny you say that because on Breaking Ground, he and Tino Sabbatelli kind of bonded over the NFL experience. And Tino Sabbatelli did a hell of a lot more in the NFL than Baron Corbin. So it was it's interesting you make that corollary.
Yeah, I think it'd just be funny that the most annoying guy on the roster is who Baron Corbin is like, yeah, he's a hell of a competitor. He came up the way you're supposed to, through the NFL. Not through high school gyms.
Go back to Ring of Honor. That's what
that was my favorite. And people were like, what a dumbass. Apollo Crews was never in Ring of Honor. And I'm like, of course. Why would Baron Corbin know?
Yeah.
He's not supposed to know. The first half of this is really your standard Ambrose Styles match. And most Ambrose matches are the same these days. But this one, it heated up at the end. And it got good. Ambrose was doing some different stuff. Got a smattering of "This is awesome" chants. What did you think of the match? And also, what did you think of five champions losing, 5 title? Wait, let's see. 1, 2, 3. I think 5 or 6 champions losing in like 24 hours, 25 hours.
Well, I'll say this. I liked that they built up a little bit of animosity between AJ and The Miz, with The Miz saying he's stealing my kicks. And Otunga actually calling him on that. I enjoyed that whole interplay. I liked the match. I think AJ and Dean work really well together. I just think we were all waiting for it to break down into when The Miz and Baron Corbin eventually jump in there. I think everybody was way ahead of the match in terms of logic and reason, and was going to turn into the way that WWE always builds these multi-man matches, is that everybody has to get involved in each other's matches as opposed to keeping them all away and building it up as, with verbal cues. I get it, but it's not my style, but it's their style. So, I mean, for what it was pretty good. And I like that, I always like that when heels don't like each other, because I think that's a natural I think that should be a natural thing, that guys who are bad do bad things to one another.
I love that too. I always hated the Dusty Rhodes style. All the baby faces and heels like each. I didn't like that. I always hated that. Corbin put out Miz and Ambrose with the end of days as John Cena looked on, or not John Cena, AJ Styles looked on and smiled. So this ending this way, and Corbin eliminating Braun Strowman, they're setting him up properly. By the way, I got to go back and watch the Braun Strowman elimination. Thought it was awesome. Everybody collectively worked together, hit their finishes and signatures and all that stuff, and then Baron Corbin clotheslines him out. And that's something they can't take away. And Braun Strowman, I'll say it every time, takes one hell of a bump over those top ropes.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the bump he took on Raw was a bit scary. Mm-hmm. When Roman kind of botched, I don't know if Roman botched the clothesline or if Braun just didn't go over with the momentum, but that looked kind of painful and scary for a moment. Looked like he was going to get his neck cut in the ropes.
I hope Goldberg stops doing running clotheslines to opponents who aren't moving.
Let me ask you something. Are we going to get a match with Corbin and Strowman, or are we going to get a stare down at the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal? Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea where so much of WrestleMania is going, and I'm cool with that. Ultimately,
I'm cool with that too.
Ultimately, what I want won't happen, and that's Mark Henry to win. And because that Battle Royal doesn't mean a damn thing, but to Mark Henry in his final match would mean something. It could be special. Cesaro won, nothing happened. Big Show won. I'm glad Big Show won, because that's always a feather in his cap. And we saw, hey, you know what, guys? Damian Sandow wasn't going to go anywhere even if he won that match, because we saw, like, do you remember that promo where he came out and he was like, I'm going to keep doing the same thing I've been doing, even though I'm no longer doing that.
Yes.
He wasn't that guy. He got over doing what he was going to do. Big Show was an okay choice to win that match, I thought. It was something to put on his resume, and it was a way that you can say, you got to watch out for the Big Show in this match. You got to watch out for all these big guys in this match, because one actually won it. I would love to see, hey, you know what, if a stare down happens between Corbin and Strowman, wouldn't mind or Mark Henry running up and doing the old Shawn Michaels eliminating Vader Yoko thing either. It warmed my heart to hear the reaction that Mark Henry got in his home state on Sunday.
When he threw up the horns, man, you could hear that crowd just go ape. And he corpsed a little, but you know what? Dude's been around for a while. Let him have his moment.
It made me very, very, very happy, because there was that period where Mark Henry just turned a corner. several years ago. I really enjoyed his feud that he had with Big Show, the one where the ring broke.
Yes.
I thought they were doing I thought it was a bummer that the Big Show's DVD came out like the year before that, because I was like, shit, this is some of the best work of his career.
I really liked
with Mark.
Well, of course, the salmon suit promo with Cena is an epic moment.
Yeah. He should have got the title. Absolutely should have got the title.
I agree. And I also really liked the feud with Daniel Bryan. I thought that was a really, really cool little feud between those two. And that was the right way for me to do a David and Goliath feud. Let me ask you this, because you just got back from, a few days of being there live. What is something in the live experience that you saw at any of the Evolve, NXT, or Royal Rumble that we at home might have missed or not picked up on?
It'll sound like I'm kissing his ass because he works for us, but you hear about how Triple H talks about second chances. Matt Riddle is out there in the crowd on a show he's wrestling, watching other people's matches.
Yeah.
Cheering on. He's actively taking part in the show. That stood out to me a lot as a guy who had a reputation of not caring in the UFC because he failed a couple of marijuana tests. That really, really, really stood out to me. And on Friday, he was in the crowd, sitting, watching, clapping along. That was cool. Also, he wore a Fightful shirt. That said a lot to him about me, because we don't pay him to wear that shirt. We pay him to do a podcast.
No, I remember when I went to Evolve. I went to Evolve for the first time, and the first time I saw it was at WrestleMania weekend in Dallas. And one of the big memories I remember is I got there a bit early, and pre-show, Riddle just talking one-on-one with people. Mm-hmm. in an empty row of chairs. It's just two people talking and him just answering everything. And I remember seeing him at one point watching other matches from the crowd as well. And I was like, you know what, you hear all those old school stories, like Austin would take a folding chair and sit at gorilla and watch everything go on, or some guy would go to the top of the arena and watch in a kind of isolated section that was tarped off, watch all the matches up until the very end. And how much they learned from watching every single match and where it was positioned on the card. You know what? I like Matt Riddle a lot. I somewhat disagree that he has the kind of charisma to be the very, very, very top guy in WWE.
It's got to be developed, yeah.
But his talent and just how slick he is with his MMA in a professional wrestling context is something that you have to – it may not even translate that well on TV compared to when you're watching it live and you go, oh, wow, he's only been in the business for maybe 2 years and he's doing this slick stuff with Hero and Zack Sabre Jr. and guys like that who have been veterans for a number of years. No, it's really – something to watch, and I'm just not washing his balls because he's a Fightful employee. I'm actually very entertained by him.
I think that as of right now, he has the charisma to be an RVD level type guy. Not saying that because of the weed, but because he's got that natural charisma, but not necessarily in extended promos like you would need. Now, can he develop that? That remains to be seen. That's one of the things that a WWE could help him, but I don't know. They could either help him or ruin him in that regard. Yeah.
My big fear is that his first interaction with Vince is like Mr. Hand and Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
And you're just like, isn't it really our time, Mr. Hand? And then Vince just decides this guy's a flake and I'd never want to book him again.
Then you see stuff like from last year where William Regal's there and he goes up on a show and he goes, "Where's my job, bro?" And I'm like, that's perfect for who he is in this character right now on the indies, because anywhere he goes on the indies, his level of charisma will work. And I'm sure he knows he's got to improve in certain aspects, but man, I put together a collection of his matches for him because he doesn't have access to a lot of them or just couldn't find some of them. And I sat there and I watched them. I'm like, damn, geez, some real good stuff. Also, Evolve is a very joyous experience. Like if you're on Twitter like I am, you just run into people here. Like Joe from Voices of Wrestling. Ran into him, talked to him for a little while. That was awesome.
Yep.
Daniel Witt, who has been on my Facebook forever, and you all see him all the time. You see him at the Royal Rumble. He's got the red shirt with the stripes, the German dude. He pulls up, and I hear a German accent next to him, and he goes, "Your boy is here." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And like I see Frey there, and who I've never traditionally gotten along with on Twitter, came up and we shook hands, and very nice dude. Nick Gator and Corey Santiago from the Gator
They're
Pit,
great people. Yeah, Gator's
awesome
great guy.
people.
Yeah, no,
just-
you get that kind of thing. I had the same experiences at Evolve at Wrestle in the WWN Super Show. I mean, it's like a who's who of podcasting and wrestling Twitter, and the Hales clan, who are great. And it's really a positive experience. They do a lot of things that cater to my old school likabilities. You know, they have managers and promos and things of that nature. Stokely Hathaway is a god amongst men.
Yeah, he's incredible. I wish I could have spoken to him at the show. I will say this, guys, if you've never been to an Evolve show and you don't have any idea what Evolve is, go to one. Just go to one and enjoy the wrestling, enjoy the experience, and enjoy really good people, because that was a great thing. One of the highlights was meeting my friend Kyler James, who does awesome social media work for him. He was for us. He was at the Rumble. That was awesome. Also, something that people might not realize going to a show, don't get your kids floor seats, because it creates a domino effect of pissiness on the floor. Now, I would not have rather sat anywhere but where I was, and I watched the show practically on a Jumbotron. But it was so wild in my area. But if you take your kids in the floor seat, there's going to be somebody taller than them sitting in front of them. That will make your kids stand on a seat. They are not allowed to stand on seats.
Right. I would say the same thing about NXT as well, because the venues that they've been running a lot of times, like Dallas, I ended up on the floor, and also when they came to Hollywood, I ended up at floor level. They don't have a Jumbotron for you to watch.
Yes.
So that it's sometimes very difficult to get angles and things like that. The best seats for an NXT show I think I ever had was the one in San Jose. Up there, the first one that they ran that weekend, because I was up, elevated, I could see everything, and it was great. I mean, yeah, always getting that bowl. That's what.
Yeah, don't let your ego say, "Oh, I got to get on the floor. I got to do this. I got to do this." There aren't bad seats. You're going to be able to see almost everywhere, especially at an NXT event. You go to an NXT live event, the unsold seats may be better than some of the more expensive seats.
Well, I'll tell you something, because I missed when I saw it was Samoa Joe and Finn Balor in the main event in Dallas. I missed a lot of what they were doing with the medical crew and things like that. And I missed a lot of the spots on the floor with Zayn and Nakamura, because you just can't see it. So, I mean, I agree. Yeah, always go with the bowl, because you can't really see everything if you're at floor level sometimes. And they just don't set up the venues some way. They're convention centers. They're not arenas necessarily.
If you go to a Royal Rumble, if you go to any event, just be a kid, man. Just have fun. The people that I went with to the Royal Rumble made that the best wrestling experience I had ever been to, because I got to be a little kid again. I got to cheer and boo and all that stuff. They weren't going to let me have it any other way, so that was fun.
I think I'm going to try and go to Philly, even though there aren't as many seats, but I love Philadelphia as a
That's one of the reasons I went to the Royal Rumble in San Antonio, because I always wanted to go to one, but usually in like places like that, the tickets get bought up immediately and you get priced out on the secondary pretty quickly. I hate that. But maybe I'll go. I think I probably will. Breaking news, by the way, tag team turmoil match for the Smackdown Live Tag Titles Elimination Chamber. I hope American Alpha are number one and run the table.
That'd be good. And the Usos are last, or do you get rid of them early?
Get rid of them early. You got to put the Usos in last to because otherwise that's like,
unless you do the Usos first and then you bring out a surprise team last.
Yeah.
That's the only way that works.
Also, NXT TakeOver was, man, that was such a fun show.
Mm-hmm.
It over-delivered.
Yeah.
Like everybody from the women to the tag team match, it really, really, really delivered. Any takeaways from this weekend, watching at home, not in person at all, like your boy?
2-hour pre-shows, 4-hour events, a little much for me, to be honest with you, in terms of doing it in one sitting. When live, like WrestleMania, I found it was a little bit hard for me to do that, and I'm going to have to do it this year because I'm going to WrestleMania. But I salute people who can sit through the entire thing. I like my NXT. It's 2 hours and you're out of there.
Kyler tells me to tell my story from NXT Dallas. You'll have to refresh me on it. Like I remember you told me Sunday, but I was so exhausted. I was running on very little sleep that weekend. But hey guys, I am back with Jimmy Van tomorrow afternoon. I think at about 3 Eastern. Thursday with Matt Riddle in the broadcast. You got to register absolutely free. It'll never cost a dime for Fightful.com. Unless y'all just stop coming to the site and then we got to charge. And then maybe it'll cost some money. But hey, you all are coming to the site right now. Friday with Shane Helms, we are talking WWE brand split. We're going to talk about how he feels about today's. That show is quickly becoming a very popular show, as is the Matt one. Occasionally, we'll leave those open to non-members immediately. But hey, you register or you subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher and you get early access to those. Go leave us a nice big fat 5-star review on iTunes. That helps more than I can really explain. Jeff, anything to tell the people before we go?
Follow me at Crap Game 13. Follow my other show at Shake Them Ropes. This weekend, we're going to add the Royal Rumble podcast or the Royal Rumble post show to our podcast. Yeah. But we're going to go over Raw, SmackDown, NXT, which Rob has not talked about yet, and our top 100 match to see before you die. 2 out of 3 falls. Ric Flair versus Ricky Steamboat from Clash of the Champions 6.
Nice. Guys, follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow at Fightful Wrestle for our wrestling stuff. Follow at Fightful MMA for our MMA stuff. Follow at Fightful Online for both of them and boxing. Hey, that's grouped in with the MMA stuff. Whoo! Elias Theodorou, current UFC star. Sean Pearson, UFC star who retired on a 3-fight winning streak. Both of those with Showdown Joe Weekly on the MMA side. We got the daily MMA podcast as well. MMA podcasting is in its infancy. It is very young. We are jumping onto that early. Like right now, MMA podcasting is where wrestling podcasting was like 8 or 9 years ago. Like the big sites have a lot of it, and there's not a whole lot. There's a lot of grassroots stuff. We're trying to help usher in that movement. And guys, we bring in some of the best. I'm talking former UFC fighters. We've got statistical analysis. We've got Showdown Joe, who's been in the game for so long. He was once nominated for best wrestling or best MMA journalist in the World MMA Awards. We got all kinds of good people. And of course, I'm with him on Thursdays and post shows. So be sure to check those out, guys. I know it's a new thing, but it's definitely worth checking out. We've had a lot of people say that we got them into MMA and combat sports, and nothing makes me happier than that. Guys, thank you so much for all the support. Remember, subscribe to us. Visit Fightful.com. Your support is important. We are out.